Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. I'm Coach Robin, and today we have Janette Blissett and Maraya Brown. Welcome, Maraya.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to today.
Maraya is a Yale and functional medicine trained women's health expert and the founder of Women's Vibrancy Code. After leaving her corporate career, she dedicated her life to empowering women to thrive without burnout. She helps ambitious women fine-tune their nutrition, mindset, and health to create vibrant, sustainable lives. With over 23 years of experience, she has worked in women's health across clinics, private practice, and international health initiatives. Now she serves women worldwide as a health and empowerment expert, helping them to unlock confidence, energy, and passion. As a mom of three and wife, she understands the balancing act, and she's here to help women do it all without sacrificing their well-being. Welcome, Mariah. Today we're going to talk about some amazing topics. This is actually going to be a three-part series. We're going to be talking about reclaiming your vitality, hormones, and having all the real answers to your menopause questions. Can you tell us a little bit about how you got started in all of? Thank you.
I was in the corporate world. My best friend from high school asked me to be at her birth. I showed up and it changed my life. I was living in LA, six-figure income, early 20s, and I just went, wow, I think I'm supposed to be around birth. I became a doula, volunteering at UCLA Santa Monica and the Hollywood Birthing Center. And I went down to Peru and did the 4-day hike up to Machu Picchu. It was on day 3 that I decided I'm a midwife. And so I went back, quit my job, applied for grad schools, racked up all my corporate miles and booked a 1 year around the world trip to go solo with me in a backpack while I was volunteering in West Africa with midwives. I was accepted at Yale for their CNM program. I finished in 2007 as a certified nurse midwife. Since 2007, I've been running women's health in federally funded clinics, private practices, and functional medicine practices, doing both obstetrics and primary care and women's health. I became a mom along the way. I've got 3 kids. They're 12, 10, and 7 as we're recording this. Then in 2008, I left local brick and mortar and attending births and moved all online. Since 2018, I've worked with women all over the world. Most of them are quite ambitious, a lot of CEOs, C-suites, women who really are hungry to feel spectacular. We dig in functional medicine tests, addressing hormones, their confidence, how they think, and underlying trauma. It's been pretty fun. I also host women's retreats. I've been hosting women's retreats since 2008.
So
Wow.
you are definitely a product of your own reflection, helps you to have clarity through the growth process. You're an example of that, and I have to give you kudos for that. Were you
Thanks.
aware of that when you were going through the process of doing your big climb and making decisions along the way? Can you just share a little bit about what that experience was like?
I think I've always had a belief that if I'm where I'm supposed to be and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, life happens with ease and it feels energizing. If at any point it's felt like a disconnect or I'm not feeling the same excitement, it's always a time for me to step back and go, okay, what needs to change? I've got a pretty strong threshold for risk. I've been willing to take some big leaps. They've all worked out. My husband proposed our first date. We've been together since January of '07. Left a corporate career that I thought I'd get my MBA. My family thought I was crazy, but it's all worked out. At Yale, I ended up with a full ride scholarship. One time, we were pregnant with our first baby, and I was offered a position in Juneau, Alaska to work as a midwife for 3 months. We owned our home in Hawaii, rented it out, came to Oregon, bought a car, and we were driving the Alcan Highway up to Juneau. We were 13 weeks pregnant, camping along the way, and ended up in the middle of nowhere. It was rough. The rug got pulled out from under me in a big way. When we arrived in Juneau, they were like, I'm so sorry, but that job that we promised you, sorry, no longer there for you. The 10,000 for your move that we promised, sorry, we're not going to pay it to you. We found ourselves homeless, uninsured, jobless, couldn't go home because our home was rented out, no longer pregnant, buried our baby at the base of the ice glacier in Juneau with an extra $10,000 debt, and our dog was with us. So I tell that story because there have been times I've been burned. And I had to go, God, were there signs I didn't catch? After that, my threshold for risk got blunted a little bit. When I finally took the leap in 2018 and moved online, I was running women's health at a local functional medicine practice. When I left, it felt like my first big leap since the miscarriage. It's been a healing journey every step of the way to regain my confidence. I've become the breadwinner in my home. We've got 3 kids in private schools. There was a mortgage, there was a lot on the line. I think it's just the perpetual checking in with my intuition, paying attention to the signs and trusting that if I'm where I'm supposed to be and doing what I'm supposed to be doing, it feels right, easy, and aligned. And also my threshold of risk and my ability to pick myself up, brush myself off, and do it all over again.
So how did it make you feel when we entered 2020 and the pandemic hit and became a reality and you had already been online? What were you thinking about that move at that point?
You know, in our scenario, it was actually pretty spectacular, to be honest. My business crossed over 6 figures with ease in that first year. Our family loves being together. The kids were rollerblading in the house, found our crew and went out camping and on hikes. Luckily, I live in a kind of smaller town where we have access to a lot of nature. For me, that was a saving grace. We really take care of our foundational well-being. There wasn't a whole lot of fear. And there was a lot of fun, to be honest.
2020 was definitely a big transition for many people going from work to home and just a total life adjusting. It sounds like you've had some big shifts in your life as well. I couldn't imagine going through just one, let alone having your whole reality blown up like that. That's just crazy. I agree with you. It does teach us, and it's part of that journey where we become more visual. We've learned from that. We understand now what risks really are, and we're able to navigate them better instead of just jumping into the deep side of the pool, so to speak.
I think there's a fine line between wisdom and fear. What is it that I'm really desiring? I love the quote, just outside my comfort zone and in the right community of people is where magic happens. We get to stretch ourselves and go outside our comfort zone and hopefully do it in a way where we can feel held and there is a safety net of community.
You know, it's interesting that we should bring this up because just 2 weeks ago, I had some friends reach out and say, hey, we're going skydiving. You want to join us? I'm one of these people that thinks through things. But I said, this is really not a good time for me because I'd just gone through the flu. But then I started thinking about it more and I said, what are you afraid of? I'm afraid of dying. So I said, what I'm going to do is make sure that everything's in order before I go skydiving. My life insurance policies have the right beneficiaries. So if anything does happen, things are in order. So I'm going to jump.
Doing it.
That's security and knowing you have everything in order before you take the big jump. That's great.
There's no guarantees.
Okay.
You know, like I think we all take risks every day. I struggling with menopause and I'm going to take the leap to try this new provider or start these bioidentical hormone replacement therapy. I'm feeling unfulfilled in my work and I'm going to quit my job and try something new. I'm going to start a new business. I'm going to say yes to a proposal. I'm going to try skydiving. I'm going to allow my children to go to the movie theaters by themselves for the first time. I mean, there's no guarantees. But for me, living in fear and holding myself back and always wondering what if is not the reality that I want to live in.
I feel like circling back, when we're talking about understanding menopause and our hormones, there is a lot we are learning about our menopause journey, the things that are happening not only to our body, but into our emotional well-being, things that we would never thought that would happen to us in the age of either peri-menopause, right in the middle of it, where you're just exploding with hot flashes, or even at the end. It's a journey of learning about your body is doing, why it's doing it, and the impact it's having on your life. Can you speak to how you maintain vitality and balance when you're going through all these changes with your body and your hormones, emotionally, mentally?
There's moments where we have the upswing and there's moments we have the downswing. We're dynamic, ever-changing beings. When we're in our fertility years and having regular monthly cycles, I'm not the same during PMS as when I'm ovulating or bleeding. We get to allow the pendulum to swing and to have good days and bad days and allow water to fall from our eyes without judgment. My hope is that this pendulum isn't swinging so far that it completely throws us off center, or we're filing for divorce simply because our hormones are out of whack. There's a lot of power in self-awareness. I'm disturbed by how little was really done to research women's health and women's hormones and women's anatomy. Empowering ourselves with education, empowering ourselves in the place of self-advocacy to search out providers that we feel heard and seen by. I'm blown away at how many women will come to me and say, I've seen 3 providers, 5 providers, and they just tell me, oh, everything looks normal. This is just part of aging. Or here's a prescription for an antidepressant. A lot of women feel dismissed, but they're saying, but this doesn't feel good to me. We get to change, but keep the pendulum swinging in ways that don't completely throw us off center. We get to be in self-advocacy and access education and awareness until we find someone that really sees us not just as a number, but to be acknowledged and seen as women. And this chapter of perimenopause, menopause, like that's the caterpillar going into the chrysalis, and we are turning to goo. It is uncomfortable. It is recalibrating. We are reassessing all the unfinished business and who am I? Hormones are changing and body is changing. And so to allow ourselves to be in that place of self-advocacy until we find the person that goes, oh, you see me for who I am, my lifestyle, my struggles, not just looking at the data, but let's do much better tests and be taken seriously.
It definitely is a time of self-discovery because we're no longer in our 20s creating a career, raising children, or having family. We're coming into a different type of lifestyle. It's good to know that we can be in control of that, say what we want in our life or how we want our life to look like. Today, we have so many wonderful options. We can look at our nutrition, how we're exercising, and understand better how we're managing our stress, let alone starting to identify what is stressing us out. We can develop self-care routines. We have a lot of tools right at our fingertips. We need community support so we can say we're not alone in all of this. Now we get to learn how to take care of ourselves.
Even just looking at the hormonal shift, the estrogen is moving away from estradiol and into estrone. Estrone is the estrogen of menopause. There's also estriol, which helps keep our vaginal health and our bladder health strong. Estradiol, the estrogen of our fertility years. It's keeping us ovulating and supple, and we're able to multitask and attract a mate. It's the hormone of multitasking. As it starts to go down and we stop ovulating and menstruating, estrone becomes one of the main estrogens. We become much more single-minded. We become much more unapologetic, right? It's no longer, we no longer have to multitask in the same way. Sometimes I'll work with women and maybe brain fog is happening, but maybe it's also just the recalibration of our role. We get to be more self-focused, unapologetic, fierce, and we don't have to multitask and do all the things anymore.
I think that's where the conflict is. Many women are still in the mode of multitasking because they feel like there is a need for it, or they're used to it, or that's what they're known for. It creates, I believe, a little bit more stress in the environment. One of the things I want to get your input on, there seems to be a need to raise young women with a different type of mentality from the beginning. We talk about them menstruating when they first get their menstrual cycle, but it stops there. I don't remember having a conversation with anyone, not even my doctor, as to what happens at 20 or at 25 or 30 or 35. I believe that the narrative and the framework for understanding our bodies should happen sooner. Is the medical profession going to be influenced enough to provide that type of information to their patients in a way that makes that patient feel heard and seen?
My first business when I went online was called Beyond the Red Tent. The Red Tent, it's this theoretical place where women would go to bleed, birth, and age together across generational lines. I named it Beyond the Red Tent because we were gathering in a virtual space to start educating ourselves. When I would see women in the clinic, I had 20 minutes, maybe 40 minutes. I could give a woman a fish, but I never really had the time and energy to teach her to fish. There wasn't really the space to say, let me give you the education so that you understand why you're feeling better when I make this recommendation. And if 5 years from now, I'm not around or you don't have access to me, you still have the education to move forward. Does the medical establishment right now address that? No. In my opinion, there's so much missing in what people call healthcare. Only 1/3 of physicians will graduate from med school having taken one nutrition class. But we
That part.
take pharmacology every single term. There's a lot that's missing. And I think we in the US, but also in other countries too, put our doctors, our healthcare providers up on this pedestal, like they're God and they have all the answers. Now we've got medical establishments where you go in, you either get your prescription or you get the thing cut out, and that's supposed to be your answer. I think there's a lot of room to bring women together across generational lines to start having these conversations, to take away the shame and the blame and the stigma, to regain our sense of autonomy and freedom talking about sexuality, and to do it with girls going through puberty and in their 20s and 30s and 40s. I mean, sometimes I'll run my group program and I'll have women on a call or even retreats that span from 30 to 70. It's the coolest thing ever
Yeah.
because you might not necessarily relate to everything everyone is saying, but that's what brings the breadth and depth and diversity. We get to have a snapshot of what that woman's example is and what might happen to me moving forward. We get to be reminded of, oh, yeah, I was there at one point. And I remember learning from that and to be in a place of gratitude, the progress that's been made, or to go, oh, wow, that's still something that feels unfinished for me.
That's so beautiful because you do have the younger ones who are at a certain point in their life and their experience is real to them. But then we have the elders who have gone through the stages. We can be real about the experiences that we've had as we've gone through these transitions and these next chapters of our lives. I love the idea of those
Yeah.
retreats.
I just got back from Mexico facilitating a women's retreat to see the woman who has young children and the woman who is just becoming an empty nester. For all of them to be able to connect
Yeah.
and learn from one another. Life is moving fast. The thing that is most important for our vitality is our presence and our community. Real relationships, the eye to eye, the shoulder to shoulder, the the safety that can be created when we're together. It's the piece that can't be replaced. It all goes back to our experience of menopause, our health, and our hormones. Hopefully, those that are listening, you're connecting the dots, reclaiming our vitality and our hormones and having answers to menopause questions. All of this is part of it.
I can say that about menopause, it was kind of like a taboo. It wasn't really talked about. I can remember my mother going through menopause, and she would talk to me a little bit about natural things like wild yam for hot flashes. I posted this question in the women's menopause group, and so many women said their mother did not talk to them about what menopause was, what it was doing to our body. There was such kind of a taboo. Now it's so different. There's so much more community and information out there. You don't have to be alone. Sharing it from the younger generations to the older generations is amazing. I love this conversation. I am going to put a pin in it because we are doing this in a three-part series. I'm just going to ask for your final thoughts and then we're going to wrap up and have you back next time.
Final thoughts on which part?
I guess in general, from what we've just talked about.
There is no shortness of information out there. We want to feel empowered with education. And we're living in a time now where there is a lot of education out there between YouTube and podcasts, these Facebook groups. You can get a lot of information for free. But we have to remember there also needs to be integration, assimilation, and detoxification, ideally with others. We're not meant to do this alone, particularly through menopause. Statistically, it is the most likely time in a woman's life where she'll have suicidal ideations. That's the highest rate of suicide. This is not a light topic that we're talking about. It's a big time of recalibration, and it starts as early as 35. We've got puberty, an uncomfortable time. We've got perimenopause and menopause, the two bookends. For some women, they're in this perimenopause, menopause journey for 20 years. It's substantial. Be in the place of self-advocacy. Educate yourself. There's great answers out there. There's more answers coming. To be able to find places where we can feel heard and be given the answers we're looking for. Maybe you want hormones, maybe you don't. Maybe trauma release is something you're open to in somatic work, maybe not. Maybe we need to get into gut microbiome. Maybe you want to come to a retreat. We have to remember that the integration and the community piece is what keeps us going. Evolution has a lot of power, and we were gatherers. That means we do it together. So I just say, don't do it alone. It's also so fun that the three of us here get to have this conversation to bring together three women in different parts of the country, in different parts of our experience of menopause. We probably have tons of stories and different career differences, but we can come together, lift one another up, and go, how can we support other women along the journey? The rising tide lifts all boats. I'm looking forward to the next one.
Janette, any final thoughts?
Well, the final thought I had is that there's no shame in this journey. A lot of women may not have talked about it because of a feeling of shame, getting older, not being able to have children anymore, not be as attractive as they might have been in the past. But going beyond that framework and moving into a more constructive framework of positivity, energy, and vitality, life continues on, and you can have a vital life. It's important to pull together that community so that you know you're not alone. So I appreciate your words of wisdom. I appreciate you being here with us today.
On our next series, we're going to be talking about menopause myths, breaking free from misinformation. I hope you tune in and join us for that conversation. This has been the Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. Thank you. I'm Robin Duke, and Janette Blissett is with us, and Maraya Brown. This is number 2 in the series. We're just going to jump right into it because we're so excited. We have so much great information. Today, we're going to talk about menopause myths, breaking free from misinformation. We're going to talk about some estradiol, estradiol, some of the different things between us. Thank you. I'm just going to let you jump into it because, Janette, you had such a wonderful question. Can you ask that question again?
My question related to the different methods or treatments for vaginal dryness. I've been complaining to my doctor about that. There were 2 things going on, prescribed the estradiol, and that took care of what it needed to take care of, but I was still having hot flashes. When I started with the estradiol, the hot flashes subsided. On my next visit with her, I told her that, and she said, "Oh, well, it's really not supposed to do that."
We're all just doing our best with the information that we have. I did my nurse practitioner training at Yale University. For the first 8 years in practice, I did what I knew. When I was introduced to the Institute of Functional Medicine and started learning a different way, I went, there's a lot of women that I probably told their thyroid was fine. Knowing what I know now, there are other tests I should have run, and I should have been looking at the TSH through a different lens. Over the last couple decades, there was a lot of stress around prescribing hormones from that big study. Women were taken off HRT because it wasn't safe. Now they're going back and going, whoa, average age was 65. Look at how the study was developed, what kind of hormones were being used. And we're looking at it through a different lens. Now women are in the place of self-advocacy, and Halle Berry and Oprah are talking about their experiences in menopause. So if we're going to talk about vaginal dryness specifically, let's just go there. Imagine a kitchen sponge, like a bright blue kitchen sponge. You take it out of the wrapper. It's new, it's fresh, it's really buoyant and absorbent. Now imagine that same sponge 3 months later, it's been left on the counter. It's thin, it's dried out, it's more brittle, and it might even crack and break. Our vaginal tissue is similar as estrogen starts to decline. In our 20s, 30s, and 40s, when we have strong estrogen levels, we've got a very absorbent, spongy vaginal tissue. Over time, as estrogen starts to drop, estrogen, yes, is associated with hot flashes. Yes, it's associated with vaginal dryness. Yes, it's also linked to collagen. So as estrogen drops, our skin elasticity goes down. The fine lines and wrinkles start showing up, and the vaginal dryness and the vaginal pain starts being experienced. The actual opening will start becoming smaller. In the last episode, I touched on the difference between estradiol and estrone. Estradiol being the main estrogen of our fertility years, estrone being the main estrogen of our menopausal years. Nobody's really going to be prescribing you estrone. It's not necessarily a hormone we want more of. If you are getting estradiol, whether it's vaginal or it's systemic or it's a patch, it's a pill, couple things. One is you want to make sure it's not coming from pregnant horse urine. We want it to be plant derived or bioidentical. We want it to actually be estrogen. Second, there's a lot of different ways to get the estradiol in, right? And yes, can do wonders for brain fog and skin elasticity and hot flashes and vaginal well-being. From a functional medicine standpoint, they actually stay to start with vaginal DHEA. DHEA is a hormone precursor that turns to both estrogen and testosterone. If you're in the US, you can buy it over the counter. Canada, Australia, Europe, it's a little bit more difficult. You do need a prescription. Starting with vaginal DHEA, then going to estriol is helpful for the genitourinary tract. If you're having urinary frequency, incontinence, recurrent bladder infections, vaginal dryness, pain with sex, often vaginal estriol can make a big difference. You can get some over the counter. On Amazon, there's a brand called Beswicken. You can get the Beswicken ovules. They're estriol and DHEA mixed with some coconut oil. I have a lot of clients, they go, wow, what a difference. Quicksilver Scientific has a vaginal serum that you can buy over the counter. They also have a facial serum that's estrogen available over the counter. So there are possibilities. But if you're taking the prescriptive route, we're looking at estradiol for energy, brain clarity, hot flashes, and skin elasticity. Then we're looking at estriol for more of the vaginal symptoms. The other couple things to add in there is red light therapy. There's a lot of research around mitochondrial function, cellular activity, decrease in inflammation. You can buy red light therapy that you can do from the comfort of your own home. I've had a number of clients that just are just like, wow, it's like night and day for vaginal rejuvenation.
My then husband felt that because I was so dry, I was no longer attracted to him. It can cause a lot of confusion in relationships.
I'm glad you bring this up because it goes back to the last episode where we ended with calling a spade with the societal shame and blame and not talking about these things.
Particularly the educational part for the men in our lives, helping them understand what we're going through and how they can be supportive and understanding.
So one of my taglines that is I say that I help women move from exhausted to energized, balance their hormones, and feel turned on by their life, their lover, and themselves. So this turn on piece is a big piece. When we talk about libido, it's not just a sexual term. It's also, do I feel turned on by my life? And do I feel turned on by the sex that's being provided to me? If there's a scenario where you're in a relationship and your partner is feeling like, oh man, you're not staying as moist, does that mean you're not attracted to me? Or with a man who's struggling with erectile dysfunction, the same thing can go both ways. No matter your age, use lubrication liberally. Don't worry if it feels like I should be producing this all myself. If you want to have a long, fun experience, just make it playful, right? If you're in a monogamous relationship and you're not using condoms, then use jojoba oil, use almond oil, use sesame oil. If you are needing condoms to protect yourself from sexually transmitted infections, then we need to look at non-oil based lubricants. Then we go, okay, is it that you're not turned on, or is it that you're not turned on by what's being provided to you? We get to look at a woman's estrogen level, progesterone, and testosterone, and cortisol. Yes, all of that is going to impact her libido. We get to look at love languages and erotic blueprint and help both men and women understand that we all have erections. A man's erection is generally going to happen within 10 to 30 seconds. A woman's erection takes on average 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
We do have erections. The blood flow changes, the size of the clitoris changes, the color of the tissue changes. It takes time, it takes foreplay. For many women, our arousal system is responsive, whereas a male-bodied individual's arousal system is spontaneous. So when I say responsive, what does that mean? We are responding. If your love language is acts of service and he's making you tea, doing the dishes, and running an errand for you, that's all a turn on. That's part of foreplay. Okay. Now we're in the bedroom and you're not creating as much moisture. Maybe your estrogen needs some help. Let's get you some vaginal estriol and maybe some estradiol. Maybe your body needs some extra lubrication, but maybe there needs to be a shift in what foreplay looks like to really feel heard and seen. Allow a foot rub and acknowledge if you're still menstruating regularly or irregularly, you're very different during your PMS week or what I consider fall time.
Mhm.
The inner critic is out. You're a little bit more bloated. You're a little bit more achy. The way your partner listens to you and is present makes a big difference. Whereas if you're still ovulating, it's like, let's go. I'm going to give a speech, publish a book, and have sex real quick. I think my point is that there's lots of pieces at play. Prescriptions sometimes do a great job. Yes, nutrition makes a difference in bringing in phytoestrogens and omega-rich foods and personalized supplementation. For some women, it works with over-the-counter. Some women want to address old trauma. Statistically, 60% of women have a history of sexual trauma. That could be at play, and we don't know why, but all of a sudden at XYZ age, when he says a certain thing or touches me a certain way, I clench up. Maybe we don't have to know why, but we get to go into the somatic piece to unwind whatever happened to you when you were in the womb, when you were a week old, when you were 6 years old, when you were 12 years old, whether or not you remember it.
I really like what you said because it is a really big topic. Now that we have a lot more information and it's not so taboo anymore to talk about it and share with your partner different playful ways of moving your private life, your sex life, your outside life, you're engaging a lot more and a lot differently really does make a difference because 30 years ago or 40 years ago, certain things weren't talked about in the bedroom. And I think that has changed so much today. So have those conversations and explore new products. There's a lot out there on the market now, and it's not so taboo to talk about it or try things out.
I guess the thing that I am concerned with most of the time is what products to trust.
It's a shame how much we are sold to every single day. It's really hard to be a consumer. We now have a pandemic of mistrust. People don't trust what's being sold to them. They don't trust advertisements. They don't trust their government. They don't trust pharmaceutical companies. They don't trust their providers. It is the new pandemic, that and loneliness. My preference when I work with women is I look at the data. I'm ordering functional medicine tests where we're looking at their hormones, detox pathways, adrenals, gut microbiome, inflammatory markers, and thyroid mixed with what are your symptoms? What is your preference? Some women say, under no circumstances do I want a prescription. I want to do this with food and supplements. Okay, great. Some are like, I want to make my own concoctions of herbs at home. Okay. And others say, just give me the quickest answer. I'm miserable. What do I do? There's no one way. Women get to feel heard and seen and have a personalized plan. Some people have access to amazing supplements, whole foods, juice bars, and organic produce grown by local farmers. Others, all they have is Walmart and Amazon. Okay. Or I've got clients in Curacao and Panama and Australia, right? So we get to work with what we've got. The biggest thing is to acknowledge that we're sold a lot of things. Use discernment. And whenever you try something, give it time. I give the analogy of a plant. If you see a house plant and the leaves are yellowing or browning, maybe you're going to give it more water, move it so it has more sunlight. Maybe it needs some nutrients in the soil, but you're not doing that to revive the yellowing leaves. You're giving it what it needs for the new baby leaves. It's the same with us. Our red blood cells regenerate every 120 days. Right now, I'm on a 30-day detox. It's a deep liver, gallbladder, and kidney detox. I just picked up a new prescription for my bioidentical hormones. I want to try those, but not right now. I want to take note of what is happening in my body while I'm doing this deep cellular detox to slow down the compulsion towards instant gratification, make it through the 30 days, and then start the new bioidentical hormone therapy. That way, I know the changes that I'm experiencing, good or bad, I can link them to the variable that's changed. Same with a supplement. You're going to try a supplement, try it 30, 60, 90 days before you decide whether or not it's working. It needs time to affect the new baby leaves that are on their way. We're not trying to revive the yellowing ones.
The part that I really like about what you just said is how to listen to what's going on with your body, because your body is always going to tell you what it needs if we listen to it, and whatever direction we want to go with how we take care of it, tuning in and listening to your heart center, tuning in and listening to what your body says. If you're losing hair, if your skin is dry, all these different things are indicators of what your body is telling you. You got to give yourself time. Every day is a different adventure. So give yourself love and compassion as you're going through these times of discovery. Any final thoughts?
Skin is the largest organ in the body, it's the most vocal. So if it's saying something, we get to look at what is going on inside the body. Why is the skin speaking? The hair will be the thing that's like, it's all right, I'll take one for the team. There are so many different symptoms through perimenopause and menopause, like itchy ears and itchy scalp and new allergies. Take your symptoms seriously. I am hosting a free event called Pause. Take a peek at the show notes. If you're going, wow, this stuff is really good. I want more. I'm learning. I have questions. Make sure you come. It's free. You can be on real time live. You can also watch the recordings. The replays are made available to everyone that registers. Soma means of the body. When we do somatic work, it's like breath work, trauma release, emotional freedom technique, hypnotherapy, ho'oponopono. If you imagine the iceberg, our symptoms are often just the tip. Underneath that is the cellular piece stored in our body and unconscious mind that we aren't consciously aware of. For all the women I support, we're looking at functional tests, supporting hormonal vitality, nutrition, and supplementation. I also have a team trauma release specialist and a mindset coach. We're looking at the patterns we get to let go of that are part of the picture with the symptoms we're feeling, like Louise Hay stuff, or the body
Yeah,
keeps the
I know her.
score.
Jeanette, any last words before we put a pin in it? Mariah, this has been such an amazing conversation. In our next series and our next podcast coming right up, we're going to be pulling all of this together. We're going to be talking about what fine means, Fine, and how all of this comes together. Thank you for joining us on the Menowave Lounge, Hot Flashes and Cool Conversations. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Menowave Lounge, Hot Flashes and Cool Conversations. My name is Robin Duke, and Janette Blissett is with us. Today we have Maraya Brown. We've been having an amazing conversation with her. In the show notes, you'll see her bio and her podcast. I wanted to jump back into this conversation because it's been so interesting. We're going to wrap up today and talk about what is fine versus what is spectacular. What does that mean in your life and how can you get there?
So, fine, I think of as a four-letter word. Not like, "Ooh, girl, you looking fine." It's the, "Yeah, I'm fine. How you doing? I'm fine."
Insecure, neurotic, and empty.
It's not what we're wanting. Hopefully, if you have the self-confidence and self-worth, you'll be willing to say, it's not what I want for myself. I want you to feel spectacular, vibrant, on top of the world. I talk about the 6 areas that keep a woman in fine. When you come and register for Pause, which is my free event, I'll unpack this a lot more. There are 6 aspects that are keeping us from fine: energy, hormones, libido, vision, confidence, and community. I want you to feel vibrant and spectacular. If you have no energy, someone might have vision, but they have no energy to actually take steps towards the vision. If you have vision and you feel completely alone and no community to support you, that's not really going to work. If your hormones are out of whack, you're not sleeping, you're irritable, putting on weight, feeling really blah, that's going to impact your confidence. That can spill over into our libido and impact our ability to cast bigger vision and dream. We get to ask ourselves, where am I just going belly up to, this is my reality and I'm fine? Or it's confronting, but ask yourself, am I kind of addicted to complaining about my current scenario and not willing to receive the support that's right there? When the menopause group, I'm just going to call a spade. Sometimes what I see is there are women that have developed a pattern where they want to complain and have valid things to complain about. In the menopause Facebook group, there are amazing solutions. Some of those solutions you might have to invest in yourself. You might have to invest time, energy, money, and they're solutions. And so we get to go, where am I just going, okay, this is my new normal. I'm going to stay in my loop of complaining, thinking there's no solutions, versus going, wait a minute. If I address my energy, hormones, libido, confidence, community, and vision, imagine what's on the other side. We feel loved, lovable, worthy, and spectacular. A vision casting happens. We feel a strong sense of belonging in our community, and we have the energy and vitality to enjoy our days. Obviously, I unpack a lot of this in the pause workshop. Robin, what questions come up for you?
There's so much you just said, and I love everything that you said because it's important to listen to what is going on inside of ourselves so that we can start addressing the things that are happening to us every day. So it's not only just the physical, but it's the emotional, the spiritual. Are you connecting? When was the last time you just asked yourself that? What is it that I need today to be more than fine? If it's rest, connecting with the women's community, doing light therapy, connecting with your doctor, getting hormones, adjusting your eating, or taking exercise, you need to be cognitively aware of where you are. You have to intentionally want to have these things come together for yourself. So it's taking inventory of where you're at in these different areas of your life. Do you need more exercise, changing your diet, getting connected with women, seeing your doctor? Start there. Secondly, I echo that there are sometimes people frustrated with where their life is and may not have the answers, but you have to take charge of that. You can't stay in that place. The Menowave Women's Support Group is an amazing area to find those resources. We have care providers that specialize in so many different areas, and you can reach out and do a pause workshop with Maraya. Janette is an amazing person to connect with. I do a lot of mindset work. We have a lot of material out there. We can come together and be the supportive community. We have resources. There's not an excuse. You can grow and thrive. You can become that spectacular person. You can live your life in a way that makes you happy. Once you're doing that, you're giving that back to other women around you that need that support.
Totally. I love that you bring up to take an inventory. What's not working? How's my energy? How's my sleep? How's my mood? How's my irritability, my anxiety, sadness, libido, desire to be touched? How's my confidence? How's my sense of belonging, my community? Do I feel supported? Am I surrounded by a community that believes in me as much or more than I believe in myself? Am I casting vision? Sometimes women go, I don't even know what I need,
Yes,
right?
and that's still a place to start.
Mm,
Not knowing, you're asking the questions, you're becoming aware. When I first work with my clients, I always have them do this, it's called the Wheel of Life. It has all these different parts. It gives you the opportunity to look at them individually and see where you are at in them. And that's a place to start. How do we build up those tools? How do we find the resources? You don't know until you don't know, and then you can find out.
Sometimes we just really get those hormones dialed in, and now your energy comes up and the lights turn on in the room, and you go, oh, now I know what I needed. And now I'm going to advocate for myself and go out and be with community. And oh, there's my confidence. Now, hey, I have a dream. Just to acknowledge that it's all relevant and important.
If you don't have a destination of what it's going to feel like to feel good in your life, to be spectacular, how are you going to know when you're there? You got to do
Yeah.
some inventory. You got to do some
Mhm.
work. We are women capable of amazing things. Let's get on the right path, find out what this is all about, and know that you're not alone going through it.
And just know that there's so many solutions out there.
Oh, yeah.
I've had clients that have seen 8, 9, 10 providers and specialists. They've been given prognosis that I'm like, wow, who would ever tell that to you? that you have no hope or you're going to be on these meds for the rest of your life. And I go, what rock has not been turned? And what other possibility can we approach this with? Robin, you mentioned mindset. Mindset is so important. Janette, what type of work do you do with your clients?
Oh, I am a podcaster, and
Okay.
my podcaster is the Next Chapter Experience.
Oh, cool.
I invite guests who talk about mindset, wellness, and wealth. I create bridges between all of those three things.
I love it.
Working
Right.
with clients who are wanting to define what their next chapter is going to
Mhm.
be, envision it, and get clarity around it.
I often talk about fulfillment. There's three pieces to true fulfillment: health, money, and love. How many people do you know that have all the wealth they desire, but have no love, no community to share it with, or no relationship with a higher power? What do you really have? You're doing it by yourself. Or you have love and wealth, but you don't have your health and you're stuck on a couch. We need all three. We want to feel spectacular.
Yeah.
And just know that there's a lot of resources out there, but you also get to raise your hand when support shows up. You allow yourself to receive it. If someone's listening to this podcast, you've listened to Robin, Janette, me, and all the other experts in the Menowave Lounge. Ask yourself, do you want to keep focusing on the piece that isn't working? Or what if you go, oh my gosh, there are solutions and they're right here in front of me? Allow yourself to say yes. Register for a free event. Look at the list of providers vetted by the Menowave team and invest some time, energy, and money and take a risk. At least you tried. Hopefully, it's going to build your confidence. What I know about the Menowave team is that they've done a diligent job to bring in experts. My guess is you're going to be moving in the right direction and feeling better.
I want to give a big shout out to menowave.org. Go there, check out the care providers because there's so much amazing information, a lot of free things to get connected. There's an assessment. Gwen Harris and Tina McDermott have devoted their life to bringing awareness to women in menopause. We have the Facebook group. Join the Facebook group, ask questions. The podcast, we've been going for over a year. We have so many amazing, talented providers. And Maraya, she's got some amazing stuff coming up as well that are going to be in the notes. Jump on, look at her, watch her podcast, go to her free pause event, get connected to these ladies. This is the beginning of the rest of your life. Take the first step
Mhm.
forward.
The podcast is called the Women's Vibrancy Code Podcast. It's been going every week for over 3 years. The free event is called Pause. I'll be live an hour a day for 7 days. Everybody gets a workbook. Everybody gets concierge support. You'll have plenty of time to watch the replays in your own timing. If you ever want to find me, just look up Maraya Brown. As long as you can spell my name, you're going to find me. YouTube, all the socials, Maraya. Robin and Janette, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you everyone for joining us. The Menowave Lounge. I'm Robin Duke, Janette Blissett, and Maraya Brown. We are all here to support you. The Menowave Lounge, hot flashes and cool conversations. Thank you.